Chosen one. Heaven has waited for this exact moment for you to arrive. You did not find this message by scrolling or chance. God himself led you here. There is a prophetic reason your eyes are on these words right now. Long before you took your first breath, this moment was written into the pages of eternity. Between your questions and your prayers, heaven has scheduled this divine encounter to awaken what has been silent within you. This is not a coincidence. It is calling. God says, you have reached the threshold where destiny begins to unfold. Every delay, every pain, every unanswered prayer was leading you here to the moment his voice would finally reach your heart again. You thought you were simply reading, but heaven says you were being summoned. As you read, know this. Angels stand around you even now. The air shifts because heaven recognizes when one of its chosen ones listens. The joy of the unseen fills your room because the Father's words have finally found your attention. This message is not just text, it is God's breath wrapped in language, his heartbeat turned into words. Every sentence carries his spirit. When you read, you do not just see letters, you feel him. You feel the warmth of his embrace, the weight of his peace, and the stirring of a love that never left you. You have been searching for something real, something pure, something that does not vanish when life grows dark. God says, what you have been searching for is me. The emptiness you have carried was not punishment. It was space I left open for my presence. Heaven is speaking now. Do not ignore this moment. This message marks the turning of your life's course. What comes next will require obedience, not understanding. In the same way Moses lifted his staff before the Red Sea split, you too must act before you see. In the same way Joshua shouted before the walls fell, you must trust before it happens. Chosen one, if your spirit bears witness, seal this moment. Type 777 below as your covenant of faith, a sign between your soul and heaven that you receive this divine call. Because faith that does not move fades, but the faith that acts opens the floodgates of heaven. Before you ever took your first breath, heaven already whispered your name. You were not born by coincidence. You were sent by divine intention. Chosen one, you were designed with purpose, called with authority, and marked with eternal significance. Long before you entered this world, God set you apart and said, this one will carry my light. You may not have always felt chosen, but heaven has never changed its mind about you. There were moments in your life when you questioned why you were different, why your heart felt things others ignored, why your spirit sensed pain even when you smiled, why you felt drawn to something greater, deeper, unseen. That was not weakness. That was your calling speaking. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to awaken others. The world tried to shape you, to silence you, to make you forget who you are. But even when you walked through the noise of confusion, your true identity never left you. It was written in the language of heaven, sealed by the hands of the Creator himself. Every step of your journey has been guided, even the painful ones. When the doors closed, heaven was redirecting. When people walked away, heaven was protecting. When your prayers seemed unanswered, heaven was preparing. You have been hidden, but not forgotten. You have been refined in silence, but not rejected. Every unseen battle trained your spirit for the purpose that now calls your name. You are being summoned into the fullness of what you were created to be. There is divine logic in your story. You may not see it all yet, but every delay has a design. Every tear had purpose. Every season of isolation was an incubation for revelation. What others called failure, heaven called formation. What you thought was punishment was preparation. What you thought was a delay was divine alignment. And now the timing of heaven has arrived, calling you to step out of fear and into faith. You are not too late, and you are not behind. You are right on heaven's schedule. God has been shaping you quietly in the background, so that when he brings you forward, nothing will be able to stop what he's placed inside you. The same hand that created the stars formed your destiny. The same breath that gave life to the universe now breathes purpose into you. You were chosen before your name was ever spoken on earth, and heaven has never revoked that choice. This is your appointed time. You were not made for fear, but for faith, not for survival, but for significance, not for silence, but for sound. You are called, you are seen, you are chosen. Let heaven's truth settle into your heart and silence every lie that said otherwise. The one who chose you before time began now calls you by name again, and this time you will answer. I have seen you. Every moment, every tear, every silent cry has never escaped my eyes. I watched you when you smiled, even though your heart was breaking. I heard you when your prayers turned into whispers too weak to form words. I was there when you sat in the dark, wondering if anyone truly cared, when you tried to stay strong for everyone else while you were falling apart inside. Nothing about your life has been hidden from me. I have seen every battle you fought in silence, every night you couldn't sleep, every breath that trembled with exhaustion. You thought I was far away, but I was closer than your own heartbeat. You thought I was silent, but my silence was not absence, it was shelter. While you were crying, I was collecting every tear. While you were breaking, I was rebuilding. While you were waiting, I was working behind the scenes. Every unanswered prayer became a seed planted in heaven's soil, waiting for the right season to bloom. Not one tear was wasted, not one moment was meaningless. What you thought was abandonment was alignment. You have walked through storms that made you doubt your worth. You have faced rejection that made you question your purpose. Yet I never took my eyes off you. When others overlooked you, I was watching. When others forgot your name, I was whispering it in the presence of angels. When you felt unseen, I was standing beside you, proud of the strength that even you didn't recognize. You have been refined through pain, strengthened through endurance, and purified through patience. The world saw weakness, but I saw resilience. The world saw loss, but I saw transformation. You have carried burdens that were never meant to be yours alone. You tried to fix what only I could heal. You carried guilt that was never yours to keep. But even in your struggle, I was guiding you towards surrender, not as punishment, but as release. I needed you to understand that your perfection does not measure your worth. It is by my presence. You are not valuable because of what you have done. You are valuable because of who you are in me. The moments you thought were wasted were the ones I used to shape your heart. Every unanswered question led you closer to revelation. Every delay was my protection. Every disappointment was a divine redirection. I have seen your strength when you stood with trembling hands and still believed. I have seen your love when you chose kindness over revenge. I have seen your heart when you forgave even those who never said sorry. That is why I delight in you. So now, rest. You are not invisible. You have been seen, heard, and loved far deeper than you can understand. The eyes of heaven have never left you. Every scar tells a story of survival. Every wound now holds wisdom, and every tear has become a testimony. You have not been forgotten, you have been known. And now, the one who saw you in your pain will soon reveal why it all mattered. You prayed and heard nothing. You cried, but heaven seemed quiet. You asked for signs, but the skies did not answer. You wondered if your faith had failed, if perhaps you were forgotten. Yet what you called silence was never absence, it was strategy. What felt like a delay was divine design. The waiting was sacred because it was in that stillness that heaven was doing its greatest work. You see, silence is where faith is purified. It is in the quiet where trust is tested and strengthened. Anyone can believe when the answers come quickly, but only those who are being refined can believe when nothing seems to move. In the waiting, God was shaping your roots so that when your breakthrough comes, you will not be shaken. While you were asking for answers, He was building your foundation. While you were desperate for change, He was preparing your capacity to carry the blessing. While you saw nothing happening, everything was shifting behind the veil. You thought heaven was ignoring you, but heaven was investigating you, measuring your endurance, your faith, your surrender. Every day you kept believing was a declaration of trust louder than any prayer. Every time you chose hope over despair, you wrote a new line in your destiny. Every breath you took in patience was a seed of victory planted in the unseen. God was not late. He was exact. He was not distant. He was deliberate. There are things only silence can teach. Noise distracts, but silence defines. In silence, you discover what truly sustains you. You learn that peace is not found in outcomes, but in presence. You realize that strength is not proven by speed, but by stillness. The quiet seasons you once despised were the classrooms of heaven. That is where you learn to pray without words, to worship without music, to believe without proof. That is where your spirit learned to rest, even when your mind was restless. If God had answered too early, the blessing would have broken you. If he had spoken too soon, you would have missed the depth of his voice. The waiting was not punishment, it was protection. The unanswered prayers were not rejection, they were redirection. The delay was not denial, it was divine preparation. The silence was never empty, it was full of instruction. Now the time of silence ends. You have been faithful in the stillness, now heaven begins to speak again. What was hidden will be revealed, what was delayed will be delivered. What was whispered will be declared. You will soon see that the silence was not wasted, it was sacred. It built faith that cannot be shaken, peace that cannot be stolen, and purpose that cannot be undone. So do not resent the quiet, embrace it. For it was there, in the soundless hours of your waiting, that heaven was writing your new beginning. And now, as the silence lifts, you will understand why it had to be that way, because what's coming next required a faith forged in stillness. You have waited, and now the stillness begins to speak. The silence that once frightened you has become sacred ground, and from that holy quiet, something within you begins to awaken. Healing does not always come as lightning, sometimes it comes as a whisper. It begins in the hidden corners of the heart, where pain once built its walls. What is happening in you now is not repair, it is rebirth. The same power that raised the stars is now touching the places you thought were beyond repair. You have carried the noise of the world for too long. You have filled your days with doing, trying, proving, just to silence the ache inside. But the world's noise can never heal what only heaven can touch. So now, God calls you to stillness, not to punish, but to restore. The wounds you buried, the fears you hid, the memories you locked away. He is touching them now with gentle hands. He is not exposing them to shame. He is revealing them to heal. His light does not burn, it warms. His presence does not accuse, it redeems. As you breathe, something begins to shift inside you. The weight on your chest loosens. The thoughts that once screamed begin to quiet. This is not imagination, it is divine intervention. The spirit moves quietly, like wind through trees, like dawn breaking over night. Every scar begins to soften. Every memory begins to lose its sting. The healing that begins inside you will not stop until it transforms every part of your life. God is not patching your brokenness. He is remaking you in His image. You do not have to fix yourself. You only have to surrender. Healing flows not from effort, but from allowing yourself to be loved. He is rewriting the language of your thoughts. Where anxiety once lived, peace begins to speak. Where fear once ruled, faith begins to rise. Where guilt once whispered, grace begins to sing. You are learning to see yourself as heaven has always seen you, not as damaged, but as becoming, not as lost, but as found, not as unworthy, but as redeemed. Transformation does not happen outside, it begins within. It begins the moment you stop running from the pain and let God meet you in it. You have been trying to survive by your strength, but now you will live through His. You will learn that surrender is not defeat, it is deliverance. You will understand that the greatest miracle is not when circumstances change, but when your heart does. Be still now. Let the light reach every dark corner, every weary thought, every scarred memory. Let heaven's warmth seep into the cold places of your soul. This is how restoration begins, not with noise, but with knowing, not with striving, but with surrender. The God who formed galaxies is forming wholeness in you again. And when this process is complete, you will look back and realize that the healing began the moment you stopped trying to escape and finally allowed yourself to be found. What was once broken is being rebuilt. The same hands that shaped creation are now shaping your life again. The pieces that fell apart are not lost, they are being gathered. Every shattered moment, every forgotten dream, every fragment of hope you buried, none of it has slipped through heaven's hands. You are not being repaired. You are being remade. God does not restore by returning things to what they were. He restores by creating what they were always meant to be. The pain you survived was not wasted. It became the foundation of something new. You once prayed for God to fix what was broken, but His plan was far greater. He said, "I will not patch what was torn. I will weave it anew. I will not repaint what was ruined. I will rebuild it in glory." What you thought was destruction was actually preparation. The ashes that surrounded you are not evidence of loss, they are soil for resurrection. From the ruins of disappointment, God is building renewal. From the fragments of heartbreak, He is constructing strength. From the silence of your waiting, He is creating a new sound of purpose that will echo through your future. Every time you thought something ended, heaven saw a beginning. Every time you said, "I can't," heaven whispered, "Watch what I will do." You were not disqualified by failure, you were refined by fire. You were not ruined by the fall, you were readied for restoration. The things that once broke you have now become blueprints for what God is building through you. This is what divine rebuilding looks like. It does not erase the past, it transforms it. It takes what was meant to destroy you and turns it into testimony. You are stepping into a season where the old no longer defines you. The regrets that haunted you, the labels that chained you, the mistakes that shamed you, they have no power here. The architect of eternity is writing a new design over your life. He is speaking over the ruins. "Behold, I make all things new." And when God says new, He means whole, healed, and holy. Not recycled, not improved, but reborn. This is why the storms had to come to reveal what could not be shaken. This is why you had to lose what you thought you needed to discover what cannot be lost. This is why you had to walk through darkness to recognize the light when it returns. You are not behind. You are right on time. The rebuilding has already begun. So do not mourn what is gone. Do not cling to what was. Lift your eyes to what is rising. The ruins are not your ending, they are your beginning. The potter is at the wheel again, shaping beauty from the broken, purpose from the pain, and life from what you thought was over. Stand still and let Him finish His work, because when He rebuilds, nothing remains the same. You will not just recover, you will become. Heaven is moving. Even now, while you are reading these words, something unseen is aligning on your behalf. What once felt delayed is being delivered. What was broken is being restored. What seemed impossible is beginning to breathe again. You may not see it yet, but heaven has already begun to shift the atmosphere around you. God has been working behind the veil, and now His movement is coming into view. There are moments in life when you pray and wait, but then comes a moment when heaven decides, now, this is that moment. The unseen has started to unfold. Doors you could not open are unlocking. People who turned away are being replaced by those who will stand beside you. Paths you never imagined are appearing right under your feet. You are stepping into what was prepared long before you even asked. Heaven's coordination is not random, it is perfect. You called it a coincidence when things began to change. You called it luck when opportunities appeared. But there is no such thing as coincidence when you walk with the divine. Every connection, every encounter, every turn was designed with precision. What you thought was chaos was choreography. What you called waiting was timing. What you thought was silence was strategy. The same God who arranged the stars has been arranging the steps of your destiny. Heaven is moving people to bless you, shifting hearts to favor you, and aligning circumstances to reveal his faithfulness. Do not fear the movement. Embrace it. Things may feel unfamiliar because you are walking into a season you've never known before. The ground beneath you may shake, but that is not danger, it is transition. God is rearranging everything that once limited you so that his promise can have room to grow. Every seed you planted in tears is now sprouting in joy. Every prayer you whispered in the night is echoing through eternity. The delay has ended. The manifestation has begun. The answers are no longer on their way, they are here. You will soon see that nothing was lost. It was all being positioned. You will realize that what you thought was the end was only a setup for revelation. Heaven's movement is not gentle, it is precise, intentional, unstoppable. It does not knock politely, it bursts open doors that no one can close. It breaks chains you didn't even know were binding you. It turns detours into divine highways. This is what happens when heaven moves, darkness retreats, burdens lift, and peace takes its rightful place. So stand still, breathe, and watch. You are standing in the evidence of answered prayers. The hand of God is at work in your life right now, rearranging what was broken, restoring what was stolen, and redeeming what was lost. Do not rush, do not fear, just recognize it. This is the moment you once prayed for. This is heaven in motion. Everything that was once held back has now been released, and soon you will see it, touch it, and live in it. This is the moment everything begins to make sense. Every delay, every silence, every unanswered prayer now reveals its purpose. You have reached the turning point, the place where pain turns into wisdom and waiting turns into wonder. What once felt like loss now becomes the very foundation of what God is building in you. The old chapter has closed, not because you failed, but because you finished. You have completed what that season required of you, and heaven now turns the page. This is your divine transition. You are stepping into a story written by the author of eternity. Every line ahead has been crafted with care, every paragraph soaked in grace. Do not look back in regret. Nothing behind you holds what you are about to receive. The doors that closed did so to protect you from the smaller rooms. The people who left did so to make space for those destined to walk with you. The paths that ended only rerouted you to purpose. You were never abandoned. You were being aligned. Now you stand at the edge of something holy, a new chapter marked not by striving, but by surrender. You no longer have to chase what is already written for you. You no longer have to fight battles that heaven has already won. The war within you is ending, and the peace of God is taking its place. You will breathe differently, think differently, love differently, because this time your heart has learned what truly matters. What lies ahead is not a repeat of your past. The next season will not resemble the old one. The heaviness you carried has no permission to enter this new chapter. You have been refined, not ruined, prepared, not punished. Every tear you shed has watered the ground for the joy that now awaits you. You are no longer walking in circles. You are walking into destiny. So lift your eyes. The horizon is brighter than you remember. The sun is rising on a season written by heaven's own hand. You will see restoration where there was loss, laughter where there was sorrow, and light where there was confusion. What once broke you will now bless you. What once felt meaningless will soon become testimony. This is your turning point. The pain was not in vain. The silence was not wasted. The waiting was not empty. Heaven has declared, it is time. Step forward now. The old has passed away. The news has come. The page has turned, and the pen is still in God's hand, writing your redemption, your purpose, your future. And as you walk into this new beginning, you will know you were never behind. You were being prepared for this very moment. Close your eyes now. Let the noise of the world fade into silence, and let the presence of heaven draw near. This is not the end of a message, it is the beginning of communion. The one who called you through these words now stands beside you, closer than your breath, ready to renew your heart and seal what has been spoken. Take a deep breath and let your spirit whisper, I am ready. Father, we lift this soul before you, the one who has walked through fire, through waiting, through silence, and yet still stands. You have seen their tears, their quiet endurance, their courage when they could have given up. You have watched them rise again and again, and now, by your mercy, you bring them into newness. Let your light fall upon them, washing away the shadows of the past. Let every chain of fear, guilt, and regret break beneath your name. Where there was pain, let peace live. Where there was doubt, let faith rise. Where there was emptiness, let joy overflow. You said, Behold, I make all things new. So make this heart new. Make this mind new. Make this life new. Replace every weary thought with divine clarity, every anxious breath with calm assurance. Let the fire of your spirit burn away what no longer serves them, old habits, old wounds, old shame, and let the wind of grace carry fresh strength into every part of their being. Teach them to rest in your promises, to trust without fear, to walk boldly in their purpose. You have written a new chapter for them. Lord, let them step into it without hesitation. Let the peace that surpasses understanding become their constant companion. Let their dreams align with heaven's design. Let their voice carry hope into places still covered in darkness. And when they speak, let others feel the presence of the one who rebuilt them from within. Now, as you seal this renewal, remind them that they are never alone. Even in the quiet, you are near. Even in the unknown, you are leading. Even when they cannot see the way forward, you have already made a path. Let their heart remember this truth, that the same God who began this transformation will finish it perfectly. So now, breathe deeply. Let gratitude rise like incense. Whisper, Thank you, Lord, for finding me, for healing me, for making me new. Lift your hands in faith and say, I receive this renewal. I receive this peace. I receive this joy. If you feel this prayer resonating in your spirit, type Amen as your act of agreement. Heaven records every word spoken in faith. This is your seal, the mark of divine renewal over your life. From this day forward, you will walk lighter, think clearer, and love deeper. For the old has passed away, and the new has come. You are renewed, restored, and remembered. And heaven rejoices, for God's work in you is only beginning.